Chai with Manjula presents NRI, A Closer Look, a special series that focuses on some of the key issues that affect Indo-Americans and NRIs and takes a close look at solutions and prevention as well. Each day, 3 women in America are murdered by a male partner. Each year, 1.5 million women in the country are physically assaulted. 1/3 of the police time is spent on responding to calls about domestic violence and abuse. These are the national statistics and they are alarming. But what is more disturbing is the fact that in the South Asian community in the US, the rate of domestic violence and abuse is even higher. Today and in our next show, we'll take a close look at how the problem manifests itself in our community, the key reasons behind it, and ways to address it. NRI, A Closer Look, presented by Chai with Manjula and sponsored by the Tech Museum of Innovation, San Jose, California, a unique hands-on technology and social museum for people of all ages and backgrounds, which inspires innovations for the benefit of humanity. And Development Alternatives Group, a non-profit organization in India that brings together traditional knowledge and modern science for sustainable development at community, national, and global level. My guests are Dr. Mukta Sharangpani and Vandana Kumar, 2 women who are actively involved with addressing the problem of domestic violence and abuse in the Bay Area through their work at Maitri and Narika. Mukta is a former president and current board member of Maitri, and Vandana is president of Narika and also publisher of India Current. Mukta and Vandana, welcome to Chai with Manjula.
Thank you.
Domestic violence and abuse is prevalent in all cultures and communities all over the world, in all walks of life. And the abuse is not only physical, it's also mental, it's emotional, it's abuse through extreme controlling behavior, financial control, stalking, and whatnot. And of course, there is reverse abuse too, where men are the victims. But since the numbers are much lower, the focus remains on abuse against women. Now, Narika and Maitri have been around for so many years. What kind of abuse do you see most often in the South Asian community?
I think the first thing to sort of clarify at the outset is we are a transnational community. We're a community that has a foot in our homelands and a foot in our host land. And so a lot of the issues around abuse have to do with sort of this transnational shift, which clearly means issues around abusing immigration status, issues around abusing access to resources, around accessing family, being able to call up your family and talk to them, being able to visit on holidays, sometimes visiting on holidays and not being allowed to come back. So a lot of these sort of peculiarities that are specific to transnational issues.
We had a client, she came to this country on a fiancé visa.
Okay.
When she turned 18. She spoke only Hindi and Urdu. She came into a family where she lived with her in-laws. She was very much kept veiled at home.
Okay.
She was not given food for a large period of her stay. But the good thing for her was she actually had access to an aunt who would come and who was allowed to come and visit her. She became pregnant and then she had a child. All this time where she has no access to anything outside that little home, which became a prison for her.
Okay.
Then thankfully through her aunt, she was able to reach out to Narika. And I don't believe the story, something like that, is unique to us. I think that's something that all DV agencies that serve this immigrant communities probably see. How can something like this happen in a country like America, right? Where she came away to this country because her family thought she's going to a land of plenty, a land of opportunities. And by the time she'd had a child, her visa status had expired. Her husband had not filed.
Yeah.
She was fearful She was isolated. She had no access to knowing what her legal rights were, and she was scared.
Right.
She
So
said, "I'll be deported. I have a child. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I can't say anything."
So it's isolation.
That's
and
exactly
dependence.
to all the points that Mukta mentioned.
Yeah, right.
You know, this is a perfect example.
Yeah.
And then when her aunt reached out to Narika, and then through her we were able to connect and say that let's find a safe time for her to be able to talk to us. Let's figure out how we can help her. And by the time she was clear that she didn't want to stay in the situation that she was in. So we helped her get an attorney to help her figure out her immigration status, to help her get the rights to be able to stay here.
Okay.
And now she's filing for divorce and she's fighting for custody for her child.
Okay, and now abandonment is another major problem. In the state of Punjab itself, there are tens of thousands of brides who are abandoned by NRIs. They married them for dowry and never filed their papers. Or in some cases, they did call them here, but then abandoned them because they were already married or were not interested. Do you see such cases also of abandonment over here?
After they come here, well, there are two kinds of abandonment, right? People who get married to women in India, and oftentimes there's a case of dowry that they get, and they usually leave the women behind and come away. And with the pretext that I will be filing for your green card, or I'm filing for your legal status, visa status.
Yeah, but those women cannot contact you because they are left in India.
No, some do, because we do so much outreach in the home countries that a lot of times people actually know to call us. We get calls from India, from other parts of Pakistan, sometimes Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, saying that this has happened and how do I come here, and on what grounds do I come here, because I don't have a visa, he's not filed for my visa. Can you fight my case? So part of the work that DV agencies have to do is recognize that these are the issues that are happening and do policy work around this that involves all the home governments to collaborate and come on the same table and actually discuss how countries can assist their own citizens when situations like this happen.
Right. So it's good to know that you are helping women in India also who are abandoned. And of course, abandonment over here, once they come here, sometimes they find out the guy is already married or he didn't want her or whatever and just leaves her and she's left with nothing.
Yeah. One thing we've realized is DV, domestic violence, is democratic. And it knows no boundaries, of class or education or age or race or
That's true.
as long as there are people, that it exists.
Right.
And we definitely have had cases that women who've been abandoned here, and we help them to the best that we can.
Okay.
And fortunately, over the years, we have built a lot of alliances, including with Maitri. We work very closely together, and with other agencies that help women get the help that they need. And but reaching these women, I think, is key. Knowing that resources are available for women, getting the word out about that, I think, is our biggest role.
So how do you reach out to people? How do people find you?
Well, we're hoping today is one of that examples, right? That there's people that are watching this show that might have either felt that what they're experiencing is not abuse, or they might have felt too scared, or they might have felt lonely, that how do I talk to other people about my situation? Everyone else thinks he's so handsome, he's so charming, he's so well-to-do, my family is so happy. How do I actually bring up issues that are scaring me? So this is one avenue. And then also, we collaborate on fairs, on melas, on colleges, schools.
We go to temples. We try to send information about that. Melas, we often have tables together where we have information about the organizations that are and services that are available.
It's time for a short break. We'll continue our discussion when we come back.
It had begun even before the wedding. Just after our engagement, when we first went out, I had just smiled at the waiter who brought us our coffees And Rajesh became so angry. I tried to tell him I was just being polite, but he wouldn't listen.
We got married, and this is when life really became a nightmare for me. His temper ranged from calling me horrible names, to throwing and breaking things to frighten me, to hitting me with things, to slamming me against the wall or the car or whatever was nearby.
There are many common myths surrounding domestic violence. For example, people think that a batterer might also be an alcoholic or a philanderer or mentally ill. While this might be true in some instances, domestic violence goes way beyond these explanations. Another common myth is that of the South Asian community as a model minority, a rich and self-sustaining group in which issues such as domestic violence or child neglect or crime, poverty, substance abuse don't exist at all.
Still, it was very hard for me to consider divorce, though, even though he treated me horribly basically from the beginning. I didn't want to give up. I really wanted to make it work. I got along with everyone. Why couldn't I make the marriage work?
Awareness is the first step. Acceptance is the first step. To understand that actually it is happening. It is happening all around us, whether it's an issue of domestic violence or whatever it is that you're talking about. And saying that it is the community's business to get involved in many ways, in money, in support, in saying this is not about shaming the community. It is about setting right and empowering people basically.
Welcome back. My guests are Mukta and Vandana, and the subject is domestic violence and abuse within the South Asian community. So you are seeing all these forms of abuse that I mentioned earlier, mental, emotional, financial, isolation, stalking, all those things are prevalent here in the US and the South Asian community.
Very much prevalent. And I think, this is something very interestingly, a project that was done by the Tata Institute of Social Services in Bombay, along with some of the police cells, through narratives of the women. And they shared that sometimes it takes a physical incident to actually put all of the other stuff into perspective. So people might be undergoing emotional violence, sexual violence, financial control, extreme forms of isolation. But it all doesn't come together until that physical incident.
It's very hard to recognize and acknowledge all other forms of abuse. So Maitri and Narika are, of course, helping, supporting, protecting, empowering women in abusive situations. Tell us about some of your programs. How do you accomplish that?
At Narika, we have a 24-hour helpline. We also have a unique program to Narika, which is called SEED. We call it now the South Asian Economic and Empowerment and Development Program. This is a 12-week empowerment program where we teach women English as a second language. We teach them basic financial skills. They're able to open a bank account. They're able to get a library card. We also have a direct aid fund. So we help women with, say they have to put down, they've left their home and they need to pay rent, the first month rent, or they need to take driving lessons, for example. So we'd help pay for that.
I think the thing that Vandana stresses on, that both Maitri and Narika and many other DV agencies across the country have found critical, is that you need to give people life skills so that when someone calls into our hotline, you will reach somebody who will talk through what is happening with you. We will not advise you, we will not counsel you, because we are not in your shoes. But what we will do is give you your options and tell you that these are the implications of any of the actions that you take. So for example, many times women will say, I can't think, I just don't know what to do, I'm just going to take my children and go to India. Or go to Bangladesh, or go to Nepal, or go to Pakistan. And we will say, wait a minute, don't do that, because then you are violating the rules of taking children across borders without permission from your spouse. A very critical role that we play as an agency is to recognize, first of all, and give voice to their pain, to tell them that the silence is, that it's okay that you are quiet for this while and you need it to be, but you might have certain things that you could do to help make your life better and the life of your families better. In addition to that, Maitri has a transition house, which is a fabulous program. It's unique. Right. So you don't only have to worry about, a roof over your head anymore. You can actually work on all of the things, the ESL, the car driving. The children can go through a counseling program. You can start healing in ways that you can't otherwise in a shelter.
Okay, and how many people can you accommodate in the shelter?
We actually have a waiting list at all times, and it's a 9-bedroom facility. We accept people across all communities as long as they qualify through our intake process.
Well, one more area that Narika also works in is trafficking.
Okay.
We were actively involved in the Lucky Reddy case in '99. Since then, we've also been handling trafficking cases.
Okay. There are quite a few South Asian agencies helping women in abusive situations. But not all South Asian communities have access to such agencies. So what are their options? How can they seek help? What advice do you have for them in this regard?
It used to be in the past that people would say, go to talk to your doctor, talk to your internal medicine. In some states, perhaps it's still okay. In California, all doctors are mandated reporters of domestic violence. Oh. So if you are in a position where you absolutely want to leave, you want to make a change in your life, you know that your life and the life of your family is in danger if you continue to stay that way, by all means, access those resources. But if you're still sort of looking around, feeling your way, trying to figure out what your options are, maybe it might not be such a great idea to talk about your situation to someone who's a mandated reporter. I recommend to anybody out there, contact Maitri, contact Narika. Okay. We'll help you figure things out. Okay, so we'll help you sort through it.
Even people outside of the Bay Area, they can contact you.
Absolutely.
And you will help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
We will not necessarily take on their case forever, because like Vandana said, there's geographical constraints to what we can do.
Guide them.
Absolutely. We'll guide them, we'll tell them where to go, we'll talk them through the resources, we'll connect them to the police.
And most importantly, we have information, that they don't have.
Okay.
And a lot of information, especially about immigration and all that, are across the state. Across the states are the same. They're the same. So we definitely, as long as any of them reach either Maitri or Narika, we'll be happy to guide them, for the next steps.
Just for example, tell us how many calls a day or a week or month do you get?
Well, we, over the history of 21 years, certainly in the last 10 years or so, 1,200 to 1,500 phone calls a year is what we get.
We see 2,500 every year, which interestingly, about 10 years ago, we saw 2,500 for 10 years. And now it has increased largely in scale and scope.
It's increasing now.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure if the increase is necessarily because more people are hurting each other, but also I think it shows that we have reached out to people that need assistance, and also people are able to find us more easily.
Right. Well, Mukta and Vandana, thank you so much for
Pleasure.
coming.
Thank you for
your
having
time.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Today, Mukta and Vandana made us aware of the kind of domestic abuse that is prevalent in the South Asian community and how the victims can seek help. We'll carry on our conversation next time and take a close look at the reasons behind this behavior and ways to address and prevent the problem and tackle it at its roots. Welcome back. This is our special segment, Technology for Social Good. And my guest is Abby Longcore from the Tech Museum of Innovation in San Jose, where she is director of the Tech Challenge, a signature program of the museum. Abby, welcome to Chai with Manjula.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, the Tech Challenge is a wonderful program for the youth and is very successful and popular. It's been around for 27 years or so. Tell us, where is the program headed?
So our program has really been growing over time. We started out 27 years ago with about 5 teams participating. Last year we had hundreds and hundreds of teams.
Wow.
So our hope is to continue growing over time. We really want to make sure that this is a program that any student who's interested in engineering who wants to try it can participate in. Mm-hmm. And so as a program, we're really focused on creating something that students can build something with low-cost materials. They can become involved very easily and kind of try out engineering, because sort of the goal is to inspire the next generation of Silicon Valley innovators. And that's sort of very near and dear to our hearts in terms of when we envision what the next challenges are going to be. And so our goal is to just grow over time and keep allowing students to participate in engineering and get engaged. And we hope that that will lead them to want to continue working in engineering and continue innovating, just like we've always been working towards in terms of inspiring the innovator in everyone. So we're lucky now, after years of having this program established, that now we have corporate sponsors. This year Cisco is our presenting sponsor, and they have been in the past as well, and we're very lucky to have their support because kind of our sponsors allow us to provide this program in a way that's accessible to all students, which is really our goal.
So it is done at a very large scale, and I'm sure you need lots of volunteers and help. So tell us, how can people get involved and support this program?
So we are actively recruiting volunteers. The person to contact at the museum is Talents Orme. He kind of handles all our volunteers for us. To make the event work, we have about 400 volunteers over the course of the 2-day event that we hold. And doing everything from judging to kind of crowd control and making sure people are in the right places and the kids are where they need to be. So it's really an incredible opportunity for people to get involved and to come out and sort of see what it's all about and see really these amazing things that the students have built and designed.
So how many awards do you give out, and what are the awards?
So we give out a whole variety of awards. So we have different divisions. We have 5th and 6th grade division, 7th and 8th grade division, and then a high school division. And there are sort of different awards in each category. So there's kind of overall awards, which is where they've really done, they've built a great device, they have an awesome engineering journal, and they've given a really good presentation and had a great explanation of how their device would work in the real world, which is what we call Spirit of the Challenge. And then they also have awards in kind of each category. So they could be awarded like a first place award for an engineering journal because they've done a really great job of documenting their process, even if, for example, like their device doesn't really work. So really the focus of the awards is kind of to acknowledge the hard work and dedication that goes into what they do, and sort of where they're at in their process. And they, it's great to hear them talk about what they've done and kind of how they figured things out and what they thought about. So it's really interesting. It's really all about them and kind of the community and seeing what they've done. And it's really heartwarming to see all the work that they've done and hear them talk about things. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great event. It'll be held on April 12th and 13th this year. And it is free. It's open to the public. So we really encourage everyone to come out and just be wowed by the things that the kids have designed and created.
Well, it sounds great. All the best with this year's event, Abby. And thanks for coming. The Tech Museum is a fun place for people of all ages. So get involved and support their programs such as the Tech Challenge by volunteering or whichever way you can.
The Tech Challenge is a signature program of the Tech Museum of Innovation. It provides months of learning in science, technology, engineering, and math, what we call STEM. How long have you been working on this monstrosity, Random Kids?
5 months.
5 months of work.
The Tech Challenge is an annual design competition for youth 5th through 12th grade. This year's challenge is all about asteroids, and they had to create a device that will land sensitive instrument packages or eggs on 3 areas of the asteroid.
Our challenge went well. We got sandy pit and lava ledge, but we couldn't get rocky slope. It landed right there, but it just wouldn't get on.
This is a lifelong experience for them and something they will never forget. It's wonderful.
I've been here last time for Alyssa's horse people. I was the horse. These guys are the noobs. So yeah, I'm trying to teach them, but then they're very smart people and it's very fun hanging out with them.
There's not many other programs that allow the kids to see a project from conception to completion, but through Tech Challenge, it really helps.
It felt great in the end. We got them all. It was just amazing.
What I saw around the floor was great teamwork, creativity, ingenuity, and most of all, people working very hard.
Jessie Kaur is a spiritual author and speaker. Last time she had a message about oneness, about how we all are interconnected. And today she talks about Seva.
Welcome to Reflections with Jessie. Today we're going to talk about Seva. Seva is love in action. It is service without the trumpet of the ego. Seva seeks neither reward nor acknowledgement. True seva is a gift of oneself, and through continuous acts of seva, the sense of a separate self is diminished. Seva expands the sense of self and becomes its own reward. With even a minuscule of expectation of reward or recognition, seva becomes a commercial transaction. All acts of seva and all aspects of it need to be committed to the divine. It is thus that seva becomes worship. It rises from one's depths like a prayer and transforms one who gives without obligating one who receives. It opens the door for the divine to enter. The question arises, who does one serve? What causes are worthy, and which ones will become a noose around our soul? Serve the truth. Serve that which reflects the essence of God. Serve the hungry and the deprived. Serve the weak, the old and the sick. Serve the servants of God. Serve as a servant of God. Serve because the needy strike a chord in you and you experience their need as your own. Serve because they are your own. Serve the environment, the air, the water, the great Mother Earth. Serve that which lifts. Serve that which beautifies. Serve that which transforms. Serve the inner silence, the inner music, and the inner voice. Don't serve your greed or your appetites, or the greed and appetites of others. Don't serve grudges or remorse. Don't serve those that sparkle on the outside, but whose inner crevices are dark. Don't serve lust, attachment, or anger. Don't serve the dishonest. Don't serve that which bloats your ego or the egos of others. Don't serve under pressure or in fear. Don't serve to flatter or to fawn. Serve in joy and in ease. Serve in wonder of the oneness of the server and the served. Serve in grace. Serve in silence. Serve in praise. Serve in gratitude. Such a seva is more precious than kingdoms and power. Thank you for watching and remain in high spirits. Chardi Kala.
That's all for today. I look forward to seeing you again after 2 weeks at the same time. Thank you.
On the next episode of Chai with Manjula.
He got really angry. He beat her while her mother-in-law is watching.
Women need to tell their daughters that they're valued, but equally mothers need to tell their sons how to be caring, compassionate people that believe in the dignity of everybody else.
While we create a support system for the victims to address the problem, we also need to look at prevention.